For the single ladies, you just mentioned something about how we pick our partners. Let's go into that.
We all tend to marry our unfinished business, and it's also the next phase of our spiritual development. You can single handedly recreate the same relationship with anyone if you don't look at yourself and work on your own woundedness, blind spots, and the hurts that you've experienced in your previous relationships and especially in your childhood, because that is our unfinished business that we're projecting into our current relationships.
What is a shift? What's a layer or first shift that you think if someone's resonating with what we're saying right now?
When there's something that bothers you about your partner, instead of looking at them like, they do this, they do that, always ask yourself the question, what could I have done that may have elicited this kind of reaction from my partner? And then the second question would be,
Well, hello, Dr. Gloria Lee. She's here. Yay. Oh my
hey,
goodness.
thank you for
Yay.
having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. I've been so excited to have you on the show and this conversation that we're going to have today. So, I first want to say thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's an honor to be here and to serve your guests. So I can't wait.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because of course, when we were thinking about, when we think about a guest and we think about people that we would love to talk about with relationships and love, you were right up there. We're like, oh, we need Dr. Lee on this conversation. We need you today. I'm not kidding you.
Thank you.
And no, thank you. I just so grateful for the work that you're doing and how you're serving and how you're helping people. And it's awesome. Seriously, it is awesome. So before I get to all of that, I'm going to just take a moment and I'm going to read your bio so the listeners know exactly who we're talking to today. And then we're going to get to know more about you and the work you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So we're going to get this bio going. All right. Hold on just a second. We got it. We got it. Here we go. Mm. My guest today is Dr. Gloria Lee. She's a clinical psychologist, relationship expert, author, and speaker who has spent more than 28 years helping couples build stronger, healthier, more connected relationships. Through her work, she encompasses psychology with a deep understanding of attachment, family patterns, and emotional connection to help people create lasting love. I am so excited to have Dr. Lee on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Honestly,
Love
this
your excitement.
excitement, no, seriously, I'm not even kidding, Dr. Lee Gloria. I mean, Dr. Gloria. This excitement is so real because there's nothing more that I truly love talking about is when it comes to the matters of the heart and how we have all have opportunities to create healthy love, regardless if we've had it in the past or we did it or we grew up with it or didn't grow up with it. And that's what this show is about, to let people know that it is possible.
Mm.
And sometimes we just got to dive in there and do a little work and do some healing and all the good things.
Mhm.
So even before that, thank you again. Thank you for being here.
My honor. Thank you for inviting me. This is
Thank
so
you.
lovely.
This is fantastic. And where I kind of would like to start with you, I am always fascinated how people do what they do, how they get into the work that they do. And I would love to start there. I would really love to start with how did you even get into this world and helping people with relationships and being a psychologist? Where did this come from?
Yeah, how long do we have? Okay. Well, I really love what you said just right now that
Yes.
giving hope to people, even if they didn't receive love or know how to love or whatever their past is, it's possible.
Yes.
And I share this because that's really my story as well. I grew up in a family where my parents, all I really saw was conflict. They would fight about everything and anything, and it was pretty constant in the marriage. And so I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional environment where I learned how to criticize, how to communicate in a very unhealthy way, how to not repair, all the things that a kid probably shouldn't be learning, but that's what we learned through what they modeled, my parents, what they taught us directly or indirectly, and what was done to us. And so, with that kind of upbringing, and later on, I find out, there's a lot of secrets in my family as well. We didn't know this. Our family looked perfect on the outside, like
Yeah.
many families do, but on the inside, it was really dying a slow death. And what happened over time was my parents' marriage deteriorated. They did not acknowledge it until one day, to me and my siblings' surprise. There's six of us, by the
Okay.
way.
Oh, 6. Okay.
Yes, six siblings. So I'm number four out of six.
Okay.
And so one day when I was a teenager, I asked my mom, "Where's dad?" And she said, "Oh, he's on a long business trip." And my dad usually took some long business trips, but this extended to a year and 2 years. And then finally, one day we're at a family dinner with my uncle, so my dad's brother, and he said, "How have you kids been since your parents divorced?" And we're like, "What?" And we did not know. And on that
Wow.
day, I found out that my dad had a long term affair with someone, which then he left the marriage for. And through that marriage, he had three sons. So three half brothers that I've never met in my life. And that was the end of their marriage. And fast forward, me and my siblings grew up. So six of us, as I said,
6 of you.
out of the six, five of us got married. One never had a successful relationship. Of the five who got married, four got divorced, meaning only my husband and I remained married. And so I knew that I'm cut from the same cloth and I should be going down the same path. And I wanted to do everything in my power to make it different so I would have a different outcome. Because I looked at my siblings' marriages and divorces, and it looked exactly like my parents, with the conflict, with the affairs, etc., etc. You just, so this is what I found out later on, called the intergenerational pattern of trauma being transmitted from one generation to the next. And through my own studies in counseling and psychology, I was like, honestly, I think I did it for myself, to heal myself and hopefully have a better future for my own marriage and for my kids as well. And through that, I really felt that there was a lot of healing, a lot of understanding of, oh, this is why I am the way I am and why I do relationships in this way. And it was both very sobering, humbling, and very freeing that I could choose a different path. I don't have to blindly go on autopilot doing the same thing that everybody else did. And I wish that everything that I learned, I could have given to my siblings and my parents. And this is what motivates me and makes me passionate about what I do, because it doesn't matter. Like, if I come from that kind of background, I think anyone can be helped, really.
100%.
And so,
100%.
my work for me is not really work.
100%.
It's really just a calling, and I'm living out my calling, and so it's easy in that way, and it feels so good when someone's story can pivot and change, and their lives be transformed, and they have the kind of marriage or relationship with not just their partner, but also with their children that they never experienced growing up. So that's why I do what I do.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Wow. That actually is choking me up.
Mm,
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was very powerful.
mm,
That was really powerful. First of all, thank you for sharing that with us. Um, when we started this podcast, and I did say, that I feel like wholeheartedly that this is something that we all can learn, we all can heal.
mhm.
It's just not something that, sometimes we're not just aware of it. And
Yes.
sometimes we're not truly aware of what you just said, how our childhood,
Mhm,
regardless, has such an impact on
mhm.
how we show up in relationships.
Absolutely.
And for you to be able to reflect back and be able to understand, oh, this is more than just not having, um, you know, skills.
Mhm,
This is generational. This is deeper than people are really understanding. And I know that's exactly why you're on this show today.
mm,
Let's start unpacking that. What
mhm,
happens? Where does this come from? And I know, again, the listeners, I really want to slow things down so they can have an understanding here, because I truly believe people feel as they get older and they're in relationships that are dysfunctional or not working. I truly feel people are feeling that they're broken, that that something's wrong with them, that maybe a healthy relationship is not in the cards for them. And I
Mhm.
want to debunk all this today. So I'm going to
Yeah.
let you start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let me maybe give a little definition of what intergenerational transmission of
I
trauma
love
is.
that. Let's start
Because
there.
a lot of people think that trauma is an event that happens to you that's catastrophic, like, you're in a car crash, or someone close to you dies, or you're a refugee from a war or something like that, or a veteran from war. And that, yes, those are like one-time events in perhaps or your adulthood that happens, or sometimes in your childhood. But what intergenerational trauma is it is more what happened to you over your childhood and your lifetime that was like a slow trickle. So that it's not the event in and of itself, but what happens inside of you because of what happened to you. So
Oh,
it's like death by a million paper cuts. You
okay. Okay.
notice it. So, for example,
Okay. Yes.
if you're I'm just going to say, if your mom was critical
Okay.
and she would often say, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't be wearing that because it shows your arms and your arms are a little big." Or, if you come home and you're sad because Susie sat with other people at lunchtime and you're, crying, and your mom says to you, "Well, you're not a really nice kid, so who would want to sit with you?" And so if you have those kind of comments coming to you time and time again throughout your childhood, that impacts how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, so your self-esteem and self-worth, but also how you start relating to other people. That if I'm inherently not lovable, then I better do something about it. Meaning, what can I do to make you happy so that you will like me? And this is how master people pleasers are created. Because
Oh,
I so desperately want love and connection with you, because by nature, we are all created for connection. And
yes.
so I will do anything in my power to get that from you. And we don't know this when we're young, but it works. It works because when I'm really nice to you and I do everything you want me to do and you're happy with me, that makes me, if you're happy with me, then I could be happy with myself. And there's peace. And that's what we learn to do with our parents, perhaps when we're younger. And and then we take this skill to adapt to our adult life and to our social life. And so, what was adaptive back then in an unhealthy environment, fast forward, becomes maladaptive in a normal environment now. And that's how
Oh,
we project this intergenerational trauma from one generation to the next. And if you go back to, let's say,
yes.
your critical mothers,
Okay.
your mom and dad, you'll find that one of the parents were quite critical, and we either repeat our past, so we become like one of our parents, or we react from our past, and we're like, I never want to be like someone like my mom in that way, so I swing the opposite way. I never speak up for myself. I'll make everybody else happy, make sure that they're okay, and we become quiet and we edit ourselves. And so, but those are both still either a reaction or a repeat. Sometimes we do both, by the way.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's how this transfers. So remember, it's something that happens inside of you because of what happened to you. And typically it's over time.
And is it okay? So it's over time, and what we're explaining now is that's where it starts showing up also in romantic or relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, this is good.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, I
And
know.
and
Yeah.
even how we pick our romantic partners, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, let's just go there. Because no, just for a second, ladies, this is really good because our audience, Dr. Gloria, are
Hmm.
legit.
Okay.
Almost, we're right there. We got married women and the single women. And
Hmm.
this podcast is really a place that the listeners truly come here, me myself too. Yeah, to be able to learn and grow and have a open mindset. because
Mm,
they really appreciate coming and listening to these episodes so they can also apply things in their lives, which
yeah.
is beautiful. That's what we're
Mm,
doing here. That's what we're doing here. So,
okay. All right.
so that being said, for the single ladies, you just mentioned something about that translate and how we pick our partners. Let's go into that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we all tend to marry our unfinished business. And it's also the next phase, I believe, is the next phase of our spiritual development.
Okay.
And so let me tell you a story. I have many of these, so I'll just pick one.
Okay.
I was working with a client who was married 4 times. So this is she's in her fourth marriage, and she comes to me and she says to me, "I don't understand what's going on. Every time I find a partner, I try to find someone completely different so that I don't repeat the same mistake again. But somehow I end up in the same place, feeling the same way about myself and about my partner. So what's going on?" And I said to her, "Well, what is the common denominator in all 4 marriages?" It's you, right? And so you think about, if even if you try to pick someone different, and I think most of us focus on that, who I want to pick, he should be like this, and we go through this checklist, like whatever our checklist might be.
Okay.
And I would say, well, look at yourself. Look at what you're bringing into the marriage, into the relationship, and you can single-handedly recreate the same relationship with anyone if you don't look at yourself and
Yes.
work on your own woundedness, blind spots, and the hurts that you've experienced in your previous relationships, and especially in your childhood, because that is our unfinished business that we're projecting into our current relationships.
Oh, so it is the unfinished business. So
Yes.
for people to think about that, they break that down even one more step even more. So when we talk about unfinished business and how we are showing up in relationships,
Hmm.
and we have to really look inwards first.
Hmm.
What does that look like?
Okay, so let me give you an example. So this is very common that I see.
Okay.
Women in a relationship will come to me and say something to the effect of, "My partner doesn't know how to emotionally show up for me. They're just a fixer, or they don't know how to connect deeply. And
Okay.
I feel so unloved or unseen in the marriage, all alone. I'm doing everything in the marriage, and if I don't do it, then nothing will happen." And then they become resentful. So one thing they lack to understand is, when I asked the question, who in your family also felt resentful, also did everything, and felt like they're carrying the family and the relationship? And most of the time is their mother.
Your mother.
And when their mother has done that, they somehow, again, modeled that, directly or indirectly was taught that this is how a good wife and partner should look like, or a good mom. And so they carry that, but the way they do it is they stop taking care of themselves. They stop noticing themselves. And so when you don't notice or take care of yourself, but you're taking care of everybody else around
Yes.
you, right? To be that good wife, daughter,
Yep.
mom, whatever it is, you over time you become resentful that, hey, I want this too, and the one person that should be giving this to me should be my partner, but they're not. And so we start nagging and complaining and noticing all these things. Why am I doing this and you're not doing that? We also learned that from our mother, that's how she thought she could get her needs met. And so we repeat
Wow.
this, and then people come to me in counseling and they'll say, it's usually the woman, by the way, 80% of the times the woman that brings their partner into the to counseling, and they'll say, fix him, because if you fix him, then we would be happy. And I
Yeah.
look at this, I'm like, well, let's slow down a bit.
Okay.
What might you be doing that could be eliciting this kind of reaction from your partner, that he doesn't want to try, he doesn't want to do anything? And it's like, well, I've tried this and this and that. And then I ask him the same question. He'll be
Okay.
like, well, whatever I do is wrong. There's always something you forgot, or you should have done it this way, or something. And she can never focus on what I actually did right, or just let me do it my way. So why would I want to do something when I know I'm set up to fail? So I gave up. And now that I gave up, she drags my ass to counseling and says, fix him. And honestly, I was reluctant to come because I'm thinking that you're going to tell me the same thing, that I'm the bad one, she's the good one. And so I don't want to be here right now. I'm like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I'm really glad you're here. And I find that by the end of our time together is usually the men who feel much more motivated and satisfied with our time together just because they've heard a different perspective that
A
it's not
different
just you.
perspective.
It's not just you. It's also, your partner. Yes, her intentions are in the good place that she wants you to show up more and stuff, but she never learned how to ask because as a good girl, as a people pleaser, and witnessing how mom was like, she just repeated what was done to her, taught to her, modeled to her, and asking in a very unhealthy way that includes, as I said, complaining, criticizing, shaming, blaming, being passive aggressive, you name it, everything except asking for what she needs in a healthy way, which is to say, I'm feeling alone. I would love it if you could spend more time with me. Or how can we make it so that we're both picking up the mental load here? Something like that. But instead,
Mm.
we complain about what we don't have instead of ask for what we need. And so
Wow.
when you start participating in your own healing and asking yourself, how am I hindering what I want in a relationship? Oftentimes, if you point the finger back at yourself and you stay in your own lane and do your own work, you'll figure that out. You'll find out that, oh, so the thing he's been complaining about that, I nag or complain, I'm never happy, and there's always something else. Okay, now I kind of get it. And I see my mom doing that to my dad, but I never thought that I was doing that too.
That is so powerful.
Mm.
Oh, wow. That actually just brought up this question. I'm gonna piggyback on something right now.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna see if I can read this even without my glasses. I'm gonna try here. Here we go. When people walk into your office, they usually think they know why the relationship is struggling.
Mhm.
How often are they wrong? And what do you typically discover is really going on beneath the surface?
Yeah. So most people think they know what's going on, but it's usually what's going on the surface. We're fighting. That's the most
Yep.
common thing. We're fighting, we go in circles, we don't know how to get out of it. We've tried this and that, but nothing worked.
Okay.
Okay. So you're trying to put a band-aid on something that needs surgery to extract. If you have this tumor in you that you're like just kind of putting the band-aid over, it's gonna start keep growing and growing. And so my job is to look at, okay, on the surface, you can see the bubbles and, the wound, but I want to know what's underneath that's growing. And when we're able to look at that, extract that, attend to that, and put something in that's healthier, then all the symptoms magically disappear because we no longer need to fight about this and that, or we see our partners very differently. We see ourselves very differently. We start behaving differently because that part of us is healed now. So it no longer is that festering wound. And people are like, well, tell me what to do. How to have
Okay.
better communication skills or whatever, right?
Right.
That's always the number one thing I'm asked. And I tell them that that's the easy part, but we need to go backwards before we can go forward because I don't want to be part of the problem to just give you some tools and skills and you use it for maybe 6 months maximum. And then you're like, oh, counseling doesn't work. Well, that's why you're
That's
just
why.
putting a band-aid on, right?
Because they're not going to the root of it.
No, no, no. Yeah. And the
So,
root is hard to go to because who
okay,
wants to look at themselves and know that, oh, maybe I'm part of the problem. And oh, maybe I'm a bigger part of the problem than I ever thought I would be. And then our shame starts settling in because perhaps for many of us, we grew up with a lot of shame. So it's hard to look at our own stuff, myself included. I found it very difficult to apologize to my husband because in my family, apologies mean that you are bad. Not what you
yes.
did was bad, but you are bad. And so, why would I want to feel like I'm a bad human being? Right? Of course, I'm going to hide it, deflect it, blame, and minimize, deny, do all these things that most of us will do if we're feeling shame inside. And
That
so,
you
Mhm.
just I'm sorry about that. You just touched on something. That's interesting that you just said that because when it comes to I never looked at it that way. Wow. I remember myself that I had for many years struggled with apology. Not because I'm thinking I'm perfect or anything like that, because when I apologize as a little girl,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it
Mm.
was shame. It was
Yeah.
like, "I told you, you bad girl." I was like,
Mhm.
"Woo!" So I was like, "I don't wanna be doing that." And then it was always confusing before I did my work too, and I really worked with someone. It was always a
Mhm.
little confusing because I was like, I don't even wanna say sorry. I
Mhm.
didn't, and I did the same thing. I was, and again, it wasn't because I'm thinking I'm perfect. It was because of what I experienced my whole life. I saying
Yeah.
sorry was like the worst.
Yeah, 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 and that happens a lot, and
Okay,
you'll know because so anytime you're fighting with your partner, let's
okay.
say, and you say, "Yeah, but," and start getting defensive and defending yourself, you're in shame.
Shame.
Yeah, you're no longer participating in the dialogue because you're in protection mode. You're not going to make me feel bad about myself because I don't receive this. I don't no, I'm not going to feel bad. It's because you did this. That's why I did what I did. And then so your partner goes into shame and then they start doing the same thing and round you go, right? Both people are just protecting themselves. No one's really listening to themselves. And couples will always tell me that I don't feel heard by my partner or validated. Well, what are you doing too, right? You're both doing that. And let me add one more thing in that
Yes.
most of us, we we offend from the victim position. We think we have a right to hurt the other person because you did it to me first, and if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't be doing this, right? And so the conversation goes round and round in circles like, well, I asked you to do the dishes and you didn't. Well, I cooked 3 days in a row and you didn't. And then, well, I do everything else. Well, here we go again. You're nagging and complaining about things. This is why I don't do anything. Well, because you don't do anything, that's why I nag and complain. And we go back and forth, right?
Back and
Who's
forth.
right, who's wrong?
I
Both of
found
them
myself, no,
hurt.
that's good you're saying that too. I remember too, I found myself, for I felt like it was this, um, kinda like that. I was in a relationship,
Mhm,
and I was trying to notice, how I was showing up, and, my part, and also I was noticing their part very well too, I really noticed their part too.
mhm,
But
mhm,
I noticed that when I was going through that, like you talking about, like, that shame and not wanting to, apologize, I was also underneath somewhere, something was weird. I was showing up a certain way, but as soon as the partner would do something that I thought, "Oh, I can't believe they just did that," or how they talked to me like that, or whatever that was, it was almost, I really wanna talk about this. This is good. This is relatable. It was like my excuse to now throw all those things out the window, and now just put it back on them, like, justify it. What's going
mhm,
on with what was happening with me? Because I was like I was justifying, like, "Well, you should." Now all of a sudden, in the relationship, I'm trying to be calm and patient, everything like that, but as soon as the person did something, it was almost like I go over the top.
mhm.
Is that
And
shame?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And it's shame, but it's also self-justification that I'm not the bad person, so I don't need to feel bad about myself or shame about myself.
Oh,
So
that's
all
good.
of it comes out big time. Like, see, I told you so. Here we go again. They're like this, and here's another, moment of him being this way, and we gather all this ammunition to justify
Yes.
why we should feel this way about them,
Yes,
but
we
we
do.
never look at
Yes.
ourselves, right?
No, we're not. We're it's so much easier to look at the other person, though.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's terrible, but it is. It's really challenging to look at yourself. So
Yes.
so let's talk about that.
Mhm.
If we are in situations,
Mhm.
right? And we start talking about, shame and not in our childhood and not being able to um step into something differently. How and where do we even start here? Like, where
Mhm.
do we start here? So if this is resonating, because sometimes I'm realizing it's not a relationship problem with couples sometimes. It's an individual thing that they need to work through. Is that what you're saying too?
100%. When I
Okay.
have a couple in the room, I'm really doing individual therapy with two people who happen to be married to each other. And they're just projecting their stuff onto the relationship, really. Yes.
So when you have a couple that have love for each other
Yes.
and they've been together and they have found themselves, like you're kind of explaining, in these loops, in these patterns,
Hmm.
what is a shift that somebody can start kind of paying attention to, looking at? Because
Hmm.
I want people to know, again, there's layers here. There's layers here. And so what's a layer or first shift that you think, if someone's resonating with what we're saying right now?
Yeah, so several things. One is what I said earlier, that when there's something that bothers you about your partner, instead of looking at them like, they do this, they do that, always ask yourself the question, what could I have done that may have elicited this kind of reaction from my partner? Because most of us are very, yeah, we're rational people, that we're not mean spirited. So we react to each other often when we're triggered. And so that's the first question I would ask you. And then the second question would be, who did this to you growing up or modeled this to you, or who did you do this to and never was accountable for your actions? And usually something comes up that, this intergenerational trauma. And when we start working on that piece of why is it so important for me to nag and complain, for example, well, it's because if my house isn't 100% clean, and then my mom will come over and judge me that I'm not a good wife, I'm not a good mom, because look at how I live, and so I don't want to hear it, and therefore that's why I nag and complain about this, right? There's always a reason why we do what we do, but we're not always clear. We tend to look at our partner and say, why can't you do this? Only if you're more like me, then we'll get along, instead of looking at maybe my way is not the right way or the best way or the only way. And but why is this so important to me? So the third part really is healing that part of me that needs control to feel safe, emotionally safe. And control will come out either directly telling someone what to do or shaming them, blaming them, etc., or it could be indirect control where we manipulate, guilt trip, and we're passive aggressive and withhold love, silent treatments, etc., to get our way. And so when we're able to actually reparent the parts of us that are wounded, that's broken, that never got loved in the way we needed to, oftentimes our control towards other people just kind of melts away because we don't
Okay.
need that anymore. So it's really reparenting. And when I say reparenting, it's giving ourselves what we never got. So loving ourselves in the opposite of what we got instead. So instead of harshness, self compassion, right? Instead of a lack of forgiveness, it's grace. It goes on and on. Yes.
Oh, that is so good. And it actually brought something up. I have here, it says, how do you know then the difference between a relationship that is struggling and one that is actually it's over?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question. And I mean, every situation is very unique, so I
Yep.
can't just overall
Yep.
say. But let me maybe back up a little bit and
Okay.
say that when people come see me, they often will think, "Oh my goodness, I married the wrong person."
Mhm.
So maybe I'm coming to counseling, I'm not even sure if I want to still be in this relationship or not.
Okay.
And so I often tell people that you're right, you did marry the wrong person. We all did, because we are all the wrong person, right? We become the right person in our relationship.
Oh
As
my
we
goodness, I am
learn,
stopping you.
grow,
I am
heal.
stopping you right now. I've been on this show for I don't know how. Oh, wow. Dr. Gloria, you just dropped a good one there. That was
Mm,
I have been on this show for a long time. I've interviewed,
mm,
professionals and all the things. I have never heard that perspective. Can
mm.
you share that with us again, since Miss Charlene interrupted you because I got so excited? I apologize for that. But can you share that again? Because literally I was like, oh, I felt that one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I'm saying to clients is that we are all the wrong people because we all have our baggage coming in. But if we keep pointing our fingers, I want to fix this about my partner, and if they're just this way, then we'll get along. We never do our part of the growth in so that we become the person, a good marriageable partner to our partner to elicit that growth in them as well. And when we both do it, we keep creating this feedback loop that we're both growing and healing and loving each other in the exact ways that we are actually hurting each other right now. Okay.
Wow.
So
That
it's a
is
choice.
it's a
Every
choice.
argument that you have, that's actually a golden moment. It's a golden moment where you can either fight like cats and dogs, like you usually do, and you know the cycle is very predictable, right? It doesn't matter what you fight about, is how you fight and where you end up. Or
That's
in that
true.
moment, you take a breath and you just lean back and say, okay, I'm usually going to be defensive right now and I'm going to tell you off or whatever I do. Or I usually retreat at this point because I'm getting so flooded and so on and so forth. Instead of doing your usual thing, because you think about your usual thing, if you are the one that retreats and withdraws, then your partner's like, see, I told you you don't care. And then if you're the one who's saying all these things, then your partner's like, see, I told you whatever I do is not good enough. Right. So it just keeps that loop going. Whereas if you pause and instead of doing your typical, but you think about, if I was to serve my partner right now, what do they really need? So the withdrawing partner can say, tell me more about how you feel. Oh my God, did you just say that? Like, wow, you've never asked me that before. Usually you take off and I don't know if or when you're ever coming back. So for them to do that, that moment heals.
In the moment.
That's gold right there. That moment is the golden moment of healing. You can't do it like learning skills or whatever. It's experiential.
It's
When you're in that
experiential.
moment that we're gonna fight right now, I know this pattern. You do something different. You choose to stay in your own lane and do something different. You single-handedly shift that dynamic and create something new and beautiful.
That is so good. That is so good. You're wow. That was really good. What
Mm,
you're telling us and what you're inviting us to do, seriously,
mm,
if we are in a typical argument with our spouse, and
mhm,
it really is, it's a pattern. We're always in patterns. I love that you're saying that it doesn't matter what necessarily you talk, you're fighting about. You guys are fighting the same. You guys already have your little pattern. Okay,
mhm,
cool. So now we're in this pattern and we're in
mhm.
these fights and we have love for our partner and we're listening to podcasts and we're learning, we listen to doctor, like seriously, we're like, okay, we're learning. What you're inviting us to do is in the moment, you guys, that's what it is. It really is in the moment. This is the truth. It's in the moment. It's in the moment. In the moment. Pause. Even though inside we're like, that's our typical, we want to react how we've done it. You're
Mhm.
asking us to pause
Yes.
and do something different.
Mhm.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So typical. And
Mhm.
the majority of the audience is female. So we're speaking to our ladies right now.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. We love ladies, love the men. We love them all. Okay. So we're speaking to us ladies. So ladies, I'm gonna have I'm gonna have her even go a little deeper here again.
Mhm.
If we are noticing that we have a lot of complaints, a lot of
Mhm.
frustrations towards our partner, and let's talk about the ones that you hear more commonly. He doesn't talk. Um, he with help me out here. He withdraws. What
Mhm.
else? What are the common ones you're hearing?
So he's either silent and he
Silent.
doesn't give any feedback, or he explodes. So
Okay.
the conversation ends, right?
Okay.
So what women tend to do then, it's like, forget it. It's no use talking to my husband because I know how he's going to be like, blah, 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 whatever. And so they start doing it in a more uh, indirect way of controlling,
Okay.
still wanting change in the relationship. So here's an example.
Okay.
A lot of women will send their partner podcasts, or an Instagram post or something like that in the name of being helpful, that, hey, only if he read this or know this, then maybe, it'll spark change, right? Good intentions, but it's really what you think he should do. That's still control, because he's like a project that you have to fix him, because he's not doing these things that you're the expert at, because you know all of this, you've done all the research, you've read all the books, and so you're telling him this will be good for you. right? Treating him like a project, that's still control. And so even though your intention is good, think about the impact. If I was the partner and I'm like,
Okay.
you're sending me 5 posts a day and this and that, like, you know, there's always something. There's something that I should do better. There's something I'm not doing or something
I'm
I'm not
not good enough. Goodness
not, yeah.
gracious. Yeah.
So it's always the same pattern that you are not good enough the way you are. And so if I'm not good enough the way I am and you don't respect me, you don't even like me, I don't think, then I'm going to hide myself because I don't want to feel this way when I'm around you. And so they're going to actually retreat even more. And then, so the more they retreat, the woman might be like, well, I've done everything. I'm the one who initiates, and then they start getting angry, and so the husband will usually either be quiet and just sit there and hear, but when it starts becoming like personal attacks or the kitchen sink it like, and this time you did this and last time and remember and then finally they're like, because the wife is like, don't go away, I know you're going to walk away, so they stay, but they're flooded now and they have no escape, and then finally they blow up, they rage or whatever they do, and then you stop. And when you stop, yeah, complaining or doing whatever you are, then they retreat. Then they feel bad that I am that bad husband. I'm not good enough. What did I just do? That's why I want to walk away. And then the
Oh,
wife thinks that, see, I try to help and this is what's going on. This is what happens, right? He just rages and nothing good happens. So sometimes, but you see how we offend from the victim position, thinking that
yes.
I'm doing all the work, I'm trying to be helpful, me, 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 me. We don't see, the intent versus the impact. Always focus on the impact. Is there a better way that you can convey this message without having the overall theme of you're not good enough the way you are and you're a project to be fixed? Okay.
That's good. Let
Okay.
me ask you, and piggying back a little more on that too. If women are also kind of finding themselves in that particular, pattern that you just explained,
Hmm.
and the other layer that I hear is we had like a conversation, my husband and I told him,
Hmm.
how he's acting, how it makes me feel,
Hmm.
but he keeps doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Hmm.
How do we address that?
Yes. So let me just say that change is hard for all of us, all of us. And if your husband is doing something that he didn't do yesterday, celebrate that win. The cup is now 15% full. It was zero yesterday,
Oh, listen to you. That's
right?
good.
And
Okay.
so instead of saying, yeah, but, or you could have done this too, or whatever that we add on, that's really discouraging and demotivating for your partner to like, okay, I'm trying my hardest and it's still not right, still not good enough. And so celebrate the wins. Why? Because when people feel good about themselves, they want to do better if they feel better. And so it's a natural motivator. And there's nothing that harshness can do that loving firmness cannot do better. And so love them into doing this. Meaning, if they do something right that you like, it's like, tell them, you're a rock star. Thanks for doing that. That was great. And a lot of women will say, yeah, but I do a lot of things that he never appreciates. He just takes for granted. We're not talking about you right now. You can't complain at the same time, want something from your partner, right? Okay.
Love that. That was
So
good.
stop using all this. So that is case in point how you butt
Okay.
everything, right? Okay. So women, and why they do this is because they have to risk being vulnerable, that they could be hurt again. What if he doesn't show up? What if he fails me again? And I say, accept this win, encourage him to do more of what you want, and he will, because now he feels good enough that I am a good partner. She sees me doing these good things instead of just, all the other things that I don't do, and she never recognizes what I do. It's not about like, oh, so I have to, appreciate him and celebrate him, and then he just takes everything for granted. No, but there's a better way to ask for what you need instead of, again, what you just did, which is complain about what you don't have. Very different. No one
It
said you have to
is.
sit there and be taken for granted, but why do you have to relate this to not giving him praise? Because you think about the human experiences, we all want praise. We all want affirmation. We all want to be noticed that we matter and we're good enough, right?
That's so kind.
And as
That's
I
so
said, there's
kind.
nothing that harshness can do that loving kindness and loving firmness cannot do better.
That's so true.
And I'll
That
add in
is
one more
so
piece
true.
that
Yes.
often that's how we were raised with harshness. So we're
With
doing the
harshness.
same thing, wanting different results. Well, how has that been working for you?
It's not.
It's not. But so
It's
why
not.
are we doing the same thing? What's the definition of insanity again?
Yeah, keep doing
Yeah, right?
right.
Okay. So
This
let
is important. This is very important that this conversation. I'm right now, I'm like, wow, what
mm,
you are speaking is really important. This is the difference between truly creating a healthy, loving relationship with two imperfect people. Because
yes.
hello, we're all, I mean, come on. We all want exactly what you just said. We're imperfect and we're trying, and especially if you're in a marriage, hopefully, if you have the good intentions, we're trying to grow up a little bit, mature, learn and have, and if we really are expecting that, Dr. Like if we are really expecting for our husbands to show up a certain way,
Hmm.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have to be able to show up that way ourselves.
Yes. And we all want to marry a god. And what we end up is with is a flawed human being.
Yeah.
Because we're all flawed in this way, but somehow we don't look at ourselves that, oh, I bring all this into, and yeah, I can act poorly, when I'm roused up and stuff. We don't look at that, but we look at our partners like, why aren't you giving me all these things on my checkbox, right? Like, you're not meeting my needs in this way. Well, let's point the finger back at ourselves and see how we're showing up as well, so that we're not getting our needs met because of how we're behaving as well. Yeah.
Oh, that is good.
So work
When
with the partner that you do have, not the one
that
that you think you deserve.
that yeah, again, I often say that too. I'm like, no, it's not necessarily that you met the wrong one. It is literally that two people need to help each other. Also, that's the whole, I feel that is one of the most beautiful things about a relationship, a romantic
Mhm,
relationship, is that
mhm,
you give each other, come on, you guys, how you gonna really know yourself until you're in a relationship? And that's where you can really see what's going on. And to give each other that
mhm,
space and that grace to
mhm.
grow, to mess up. We're gonna mess up.
Yes,
You know
yes,
what I mean? We're gonna mess up. We're gonna say the wrong things.
that's
We're
right.
we're gonna do it. The guy is going to say the wrong thing. Are we going to, okay, slow down, reflect, and have a little grace here, or are we gonna attack the guy?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and we don't think about the outcome of it, that if I attack him, am I really gonna get what I want? No, I'm
Nope.
gonna get the opposite. Because who wants to give to you if you're being harsh, right?
If you're being harsh, something that comes up a lot. I want to ask you this: um, if women are in a marriage and there was a betrayal, and
Mm,
let's say the man stepped out of the marriage, but they decided to stay together.
mhm,
But since they stay together, this is something I hear often too. They stay together, but for some reason, the woman, and I don't know, and let's say it's not fresh. It's been time, okay? But the woman is still struggling. She still is not able to forgive the guy.
mhm.
What is going on, and how, and what can we say today? Your professional advice on what she can do.
Well, that's a big topic that I could talk a whole hour on, but
Woo! That's good.
in a nutshell, let me just
Yes.
say that affairs are typically a symptom of the dynamics that's been going on for years and years in a relationship, and it just kind of festered and manifested in, you know, uh, an affair.
Okay.
And so when the woman can't forgive, even though she wanted him back and wanted to work on the relationship,
Yes.
but it keeps coming
Yes.
up. A
Yep.
couple of things are happening here. So there's two types of partners or couples that remain married after an affair. One is the ones that work on what happened leading up to it, and how do we repair it and rebuild now if we choose to be together, but in a very different way, that we have a different marriage now. And I always say that's your second marriage. And
Okay.
then there's the people who stay for whatever reasons, for the kids, for finances, cultural, religious reasons, what have you. But it's never been dealt with. But they're like, well, that was the past, and I guess we got to move on. And he said sorry, so what can I do about it? But we've never talked about what it caused in me, the pain, the hurt, the suffering. The woman will like complain and get mad and all that, rightly so. But
Yes.
it's the same dynamic that it doesn't give him a chance to be able to apologize deeply because he's in shame already, and then you're so angry that they feel even more shame now. So how am I gonna face this? And so typically what men do, well, they'll shut it down, that I already apologized, what more do you want me to do? Right?
Mhm.
Are you gonna punish me for the rest of my life? And then
Mhm.
the woman's like, well, no, but you should be more empathetic that, I went through this and I didn't choose it and you destroy the family and da da da. And so every time the woman gets triggered, something comes up again because the wound is still there. It hasn't been dealt with and have some sort of closure. It's not about forgiving and forgetting. It's never
Correct.
about that. But it's really about how do we make sense of this thing that has happened to us that, I didn't choose to happen, but it happened. How do I make sense of myself, what I believed about our marriage, our life, and about you, my partner? How do I make sense of that? And how do I, if I choose to carry on this in this relationship, how do I do this in a way that I'm not going to just be struggling for the rest of my life and carrying this pain? So it's really about self work, but it's also about grieving the loss of what was, what could have been, and what is now, and choosing that there's still enough good in this relationship that I choose to stay. And I have to grieve the other things that will never be and that we've lost in this relationship, and rebuild and repair in a way that is stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. And a lot of couples have been able to do that after an
Oh,
affair.
that's good. That's what I was gonna
Most,
ask you.
I would
Will
say
you
most couples.
Okay.
Yes.
So most couples that have been able to that you've worked with that have gone through that and have done exactly this type of work that you're talking about
Yes.
are have been able to really, like you just said, have marriage what, point two? His
Yeah.
second marriage? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is also possible. Marriages can actually survive that and be
Yes.
stronger.
But it doesn't just happen automatically. It
I
it
think people
does.
think time. I please,
It's
we
not
gotta
just
talk about
time.
that. Yeah,
No.
people really feel like, okay, as enough time goes by, then, it's done. It's gonna be okay. But that's not the truth.
No, no, it'll just fester longer, that's all.
Okay. So we actually have to, if we are in that situation, that's where you truly recommend exactly what you just said. It's really getting down to that too. It-
Yes.
It's not ignoring what caused it in the first place.
No, it's not, and it's really hard work, and a lot of people don't wanna do it because it
Okay.
brings up a lot of pain, and that's why they don't, but pain, the pain is done already, like, you paid the price. You may as well make something out of it, something good out of this, instead of just suffering and suffering throughout the rest of your relationship together. It's your
Right.
choice, right? And so I would really,
What do you
encourage
recommend?
people, if they feel stuck, to get someone outside to help you, because obviously you're not, no, you don't know how to do it. If you knew, you would have done it by now, but you don't. And so it's okay to get outside help because you deserve better than being stuck.
And you deserve better and your relationship deserves
Mhm.
better, and if it's something that's actually possible, do that for yourself. Seriously, do that for yourself. And because I always say this, I'm not even kidding you. I feel that working with someone, a professional that can help you unpack this is a gift.
Mhm.
You're gifting yourself something
Yeah.
because having that discovery and
Mhm.
having that healing and having to learn a different perspective and getting down to the root, again, it is something so wonderful you can do for yourself as an individual human being.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that for everyone,
Yes.
when it
And
comes. Yes,
can I
and
add one more part in? I always have a little bit of a secret agenda, but not so
okay,
secret, is
okay.
that your children deserve a better legacy than the one that was given to you, the one that you're living right now. Because with affairs in particular, there's a lot of intergenerational trauma, just like in my family, right? And so it will carry out to the next generation somehow. There's something very spiritual about this. And so if you don't do your work, you're passing on something very unhealthy to the next generation. And so do this not just for yourself and for yourself as well, and the relationship and for your partner, but most of all for your children, because they deserve better.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Do you know me personally as a mama bear? I have 4 children
Mm.
and 2 bonus kids.
Oh.
And one thing that was so important to me is because, I grew up, I say I grew up in a jungle. It was very dysfunctional. We all have our stories, and you have a story, I have a story. So I did not, I was, yeah, I did not see healthy love either. It was pretty intense. And,
Mm.
but I knew like there was something inside me, and I didn't even know all this work that I know now. Now,
Mm.
it's been years and years and study and all this that I'm talking about back then. And I remember though there was something inside me that I was like, I, I don't want my kids to have that experience like that. Like
Mhm.
I gotta do. I didn't know. I remember thinking this, but I didn't know what that meant. But I did know. I felt that what you just said. I wanted my children to have a different opportunity. I
Yeah.
really wanted my children to see what it was like to have a couple, in love and happy and working out things. I didn't get it quite right, but I knew that that was something really important. So when you talk about healing and when you just said that and you added that layer, that is huge.
Mm.
That
Mhm.
is huge because this is not just like you said, it's not just about us, it's not just about the partner, it's generational. It we
Yes.
can that's we've heard of that before. I've said this before. It's like breaking that chain, like
Yep.
breaking, like it stops with me.
That's
It's
right.
not, oh, that is so empowering.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so empowering.
Yeah.
If a woman is single and
Mhm.
she's listening right now, I have something here for women who are single and hopes to have a healthy relationship one day. What inner work would you encourage her to do now that will make that the biggest difference later? That will make the biggest difference later.
Mhm. So I would say, you would know your childhood
Yep.
upbringing,
Yep.
and list all the things with your mom and your dad that you felt like harmed you or hurt you growing up, and that perhaps you still have resentment about,
Okay.
or why you might have a distant relationship with them. And so list those things out,
Okay.
and then start working through each one of those things, because if you don't, you'll go on autopilot, and you might be really nice to your friends and colleagues and whoever else, but something shifts when you're with your partner. The expectations change because of attachment, and they're kind of like the closest attachment figure you'll have in your adult life. In your childhood, it was your parents. And so if you were harmed in relationships, you also heal in relationships. And so it's for you to understand, okay, these are some of my traumas and woundedness and adversities that I went through. How do I start working on it? And as I said, it's about reparenting yourself, giving yourself the things that you didn't have. And so when you become healthier and more whole, you become that right person, and you'll find the right person that is also in your wavelength, because you won't even be attracted to someone who is toxic or unhealthy in certain ways. You'll see it and you'll note it, and you'll be like, no, that's not for me. But if you don't work on yourself, that's why we gravitate towards our unfinished business, right? So finish it now before you get married, so that you have a better chance at having a good marriage, instead of working it out through the marriage, and which is okay too if that's the path that you're on. But I always like to be proactive and do what you can beforehand. And so that premarital is good to find out, or even just your own individual work to go through, that list and work through it. Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Gloria. Now I mean, seriously, that again, you're just dropping nuggets. I'm telling you, that was so powerful what you just said. Because, ladies, really, she just gave all of us just like, wow, think about that. If you are single and you are truly like, okay, I'm open. I want to find a healthy relationship, a healthy man, a good man, or whatever that is, right? And you start slowly but surely looking at your childhood and looking at the relationship that you have with your parents and
Mhm.
start working each and every one through. That is powerful.
Mm. Mm.
Wow.
And by the way, it's not just our parents, it's our caregivers. So
Our
many of us,
caregivers.
myself included, grew up with my grandparents taking care of me, aunts and uncles, etc. So whoever that you believe were your caregivers, that's the stuff you may want to work through.
And so work that through. So, oh my goodness, that was really powerful because I love that you are explaining something that someone can just have awareness right now. That's something like, oh,
Mm.
I never looked at it that way. I never looked at like, oh, where is that resentment? Where is that frustration that I'm still carrying from
Mhm.
my childhood?
Yes, yes. So that can go, let me just say that
Okay.
working on ourselves, so with adults, when I usually see adults, many come in with either anxiety or depression, some
Okay.
form of, mild or severe, and they think I'm the problem, there's something wrong with me. But as we dig through all of these things, all of their whatever they come in with, the symptoms, let me say, I think 100% of the time, it all stems from our attachment wounds with the people who are supposed to love us the most that actually cause us the most hurt and harm. And so when we work through that, what happens is then the depression magically fades, the anxiety goes away because it's no longer needed to give us the message that there's something going on that you need to attend to that you never have, thinking it's my problem or something's wrong with me. You're not the problem. What happened to you was the problem.
What
And
happened?
that's what we're supposed to do.
Wow. That again is so kind to let people know it's not necessarily it's you're not the problem. I mean, as I hope as you're listening today and you're realizing this is something again that we all pretty much go through. Just
Mhm.
as humans. Like legit, like as humans, we just go through this. And to realize again, that's why we're having these conversations today that this actually can change. It can shift. We have to be willing. We have to be willing to look at ourselves, don't we? We really have to. We have to be willing to look at ourselves. We have to get real, and if we are struggling, how important it is to be able to work with someone. What would you consider in because I know you've been doing this work for a long time in relationships. What would you consider? What would you want to say when it comes to what is healthy love?
Healthy love starts with your relationship with yourself when you're deeply attached to yourself, that you will receive yourself as a flawed but good human being, that I accept all the things I know about myself and I'm working on it, and I can still hold myself in high regard. That is what healthy love looks like. And from there, that root, you will find healthy love and you'll be healthy love to the people around you. May it be with a partner, with friends, and with your children. You don't have to try so hard or to look for someone that will complete you in that way, because you are that source already. And with that, you radiate that in all the relationships and it comes back to you. Yeah.
And it comes back to you because you even said, oh, that's great, because you said um when we are in relationships, it's also if we don't do that work and we're not in that, that's how we pick certain partners. That's
Mhm.
how we stay stuck in relationships. So
Mhm.
again, oh my goodness, how did we have her on and how is it already been an hour? I honestly feel like I'm only asking you a few questions. How did that happen so fast? Seriously, I'm like, what happens every time? I get so into these conversations because they're so good. And today, honestly, wow, come back.
Mhm.
Like seriously, come back. That was so good because what you were talking about today and the things that we talked about was truly helping people create healthy love.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, and healthy love with themselves first and healthy love with their partners because that's why I'm doing what I'm doing too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Why
Mhm.
that's why I created this.
Yeah.
So people have that opportunity. Have
Yeah.
that opportunity. How do we get in your world? How do they work with you? Where do they find you?
So just Google drglorialee.com and all my information is there. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Gloria Lee. And before I go, I want to say something because what comes up for me when you talk about how did this hour pass so quickly? And we just, you asked a few questions and we just kind of kept going. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's your superpower. It reminds me of what Michelangelo said that he looked at a marble slab and he saw the angel inside and he freed it. And that's what you do with your guests. So that's your superpower. I want you to own that the
Oh.
loveliness in you allows people like me to express very freely just what I know and what I love doing. And so keep being that person. Be great in that.
Oh, oh, that is the kindest thing. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for recognizing me. It's never flipped like that. So I'm a little taken back. I really receive that.
Good.
I
Good.
really receive that. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you.
Yes, and I only say it because it's true.
Oh, that's
Mm.
amazing. Is there something um that you would love to leave, our audience with, maybe something that we didn't share, or just something that's coming up for you on your heart?
I would say there's always hope to change. I've worked with people, from very young to their 80s, and it's never too late. The I love this quote from one of my great mentors, Esther Perel, and she says that the quality of our relationships defines the quality of our life, and I really believe that
Oh,
when it boils down to it, that's what it's all about. And so, but it starts with the first relationship, which is your relationship with yourself. And when we start loving ourselves in the way that we deserve and we long for, we just become that love for everybody else. And so don't look for it elsewhere, look for it within yourself, work on that. There's hope, and you have what it takes. You don't need experts to tell you. You can use that as aids, but we all inherently, I believe, we're born in the image of God and we have that in us. And so find that, like how what I just said to Charlene, that chisel that out of yourself and get help around you to help you because it's there. Yeah.
oh, yeah, that was awesome. I just want to say you're awesome. You are so awesome. And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. And thank you for sharing your heart with us today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I just thank you. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure to be here and such an honor. So thank you.
Thank you. And to next time, cheers to great love. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.